So till now we have already understood linear regression and logistic regression. In linear regression, what we were doing was trying to fit a straight line to predict a continuous value like price or sales. And in logistic regression, we extended that idea to classification, where instead of predicting a number, we were predicting a probability and then converting it into a yes or no answer. So in both the cases, one assumption was always there. That assumption was the relationship between input and output is linear. Now, the question is, what if the assumption itself is wrong? Because in real world problems, relationships are rarely that simple. Let us take a simple example. Suppose you are trying to approve a loan. Now, the decision is not based on just one factor like income. You might think like this: if the income is high and credit score is good, then you need to approve the loan. If the income is low but the credit score is excellent, then maybe you will still approve it. But if both are low, then definitely you will reject the loan application. Now, if you notice carefully, this is not a straight line relationship. This is more like a set of conditions, and this is exactly the limitation of linear and logistic regression. They try to draw a single line to separate things, but real world decisions are not often that linear, they are rule based. So now the question becomes, instead of fitting a line, can we make decisions step by step using conditions? This is where the decision trees comes in. A decision tree works exactly like how human would think while making a decision. It does not try to fit a formula. Instead, it asks a series of questions. For example, is the income greater than 50,000? If yes, then go one side of the tree. If no, then go on the other side of the tree. Then again, it will ask another question. Maybe, is the credit score above 700? And again, it will go for one answer to the one side, for the other answer to the other side, and this process will continue. So instead of trying to model everything in one equation, we are breaking the problem into smaller decisions. Now the important question here is, how does the model decide which question to ask first? Because we can ask many questions, we can split based on income, age, credit score, and anything. So how does it decide the best split of the questions? To understand this, we need to understand one concept, which is impurity. At the beginning, your data is mixed, so that will contain some customer which will default, some will not default. So this data set we can say is impure. Now when we split the data, our goal is very simple. We want to create groups that are as pure as possible. That means one group should be mostly containing yes and other one should be mostly containing no. So every split in the decision tree is trying to answer this. After splitting, how pure are the resulting groups? Now we need a way to measure this impurity. For that, we use mainly two concepts: entropy and Gini. So first, let's try to understand entropy. Entropy basically tells us how mixed the data is. So let us say, suppose in our group we have 50% yes and 50% no. It is highly mixed. So we can say the entropy will be very high for this group. And in the same case, if the group has 90% yes and 10% no, that means it is less mixed. So the entropy will be lower in this case. And if in a group it has only either yes or no, then we can say entropy becomes zero. So entropy is nothing but it's like a randomness in the data. So if we only have one option, either yes or no, then we can say the data is completely pure. So while building the decision tree, we try different splits and we choose the split which reduces the entropy the most. This reduction is called information gain. So the model will always try to maximize the information gain. Now let's talk about Gini. Gini is another way to measure the impurity. Just like entropy, it also tells us how mixed the data is. Lower the Gini means more pure data and higher Gini means more mixed data. So in practice, both entropy and Gini give very similar results. The only difference is that Gini is slightly faster to compute. That is why most of the implementations uses Gini. So now if we connect everything together, the process looks like this. We start with the full data set, we try different possible splits, then for each split we calculate impurity. Then we choose the split that gives the most pure groups. Then we repeat this process on each group again and again until we reach a point where the data becomes sufficiently pure or we decide to stop. Now let us talk about where the decision trees are mainly used for. What are their use cases? They are very useful in the problems where decisions are naturally rule based. For example, loan approval systems, customer segmentation, or medical diagnosis. Basically anywhere where you can explain the decision using conditions. Now the most important part. where does this model will fail? The first problem is overfitting. So decision trees can keep splitting the data until they perfectly fit the training data. But when the new data comes, they fail because they have learned the noise instead of pattern. The second problem is instability. If you slightly change the data, the tree structure can change completely. So the model is not very stable. The third problem is that the trees do not handle smooth relationships very well. So if the relationship is continuous, the trees try to approximate it using step-like splits, which may be inaccurate. So all in all, we can say that the decision trees are very intuitive. They match how we human think. They break complex problems into smaller decisions. But at the same time, they can overfit and become unstable. And that is exactly why we usually don't rely on a single tree. We combine multiple trees together to make the model more stable and accurate. And that is where random forest comes in, which we will be covering in the next part. So stay tuned and keep learning.